Hey, this is what I'm going to show you how to do. Scaling up and down a shape and leaving the stroke width the same. If you want the 5-second version, it's this. Just copy this expression and it'll work. Replace this with whatever the stroke width is that you want. But if you want more, just watch the video. All right, so there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to start with a simple one and then work our way up to the expression one that I just showed you in the beginning. So this first one just applies to when you have specifically a parametric shape, like a rectangle or a circle or a triangle. I just double click that to create a rectangle the size of the comp. And you see we've got this stroke on it, 121 pixels. And what we want to do is be able to, I just hit S to open up the scale. We want to be able to scale it up and down without making that stroke get smaller. We want it to look like it's 121 pixels wide the whole time. So it's not that hard with a rectangle like this. Our first line of defense can just be twirling down into the rectangle path here. And instead of adjusting the scale of the layer, just adjusting the size of the rectangle. We make the rectangle bigger or smaller. The scale is applied on top of that. The scale stays the same. We're not adjusting the scale of it at all. So that's the simplest one. Okay, but let's say you're dealing with something different. Maybe it's not a square. Maybe it's a trapezoid. Or whatever. Anything defined by the pen tool. Any path. So again, we're going to twirl this down, go into here. And you notice when we go into the path section, there's no adjust the size, the width, and the height of the trapezoid. There's just the path, which does not help us. There is, however, this transform thing, which does give us a scale to adjust, but it's the same thing as the layer scale right now. It makes the stroke appear smaller or bigger depending on the scale. So what we could do is take the stroke and say, well, what if we don't want this transform to apply to the stroke? You can yoink the stroke out of that folder into just the top level contents folder. And so now you see this is the shape. It's literally just the trapezoid's path and then this transform. And so, well, and the fill. But so we transform it up or down. The path gets bigger, and then the stroke gets applied on top of that. As a result, the stroke just stays the same size the whole time. Real quick, you saw that the stroke appeared to get cut in half in width when I pulled it out. That's just because it's being told to render by default behind the trapezoid because it's below it here. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to hit above previous in the same group, and boom, now it's working as expected. So again, we're just adjusting the scale of this shape group rather than the scale of the layer. Okay, but if for some reason neither of those other two ones are going to work for you, we've got a third one that will work in a larger variety of situations. Let's say you've got another shape with another stroke, and you absolutely have to use the layer scale. I don't know you. I don't know your life. I don't know why you're in this situation, but you do. So again, we're going to just open up this menu down here, twirl all the way down to the stroke, find the stroke width. Remember what it is. Mine's 121. I don't know what yours is, but I hope you remember it. Take the swirly thing, pickwhip it down to scale, and we're going to type an expression. We're going to say the original stroke width equals, in my case it was, what was it? 121. That's right. Thank you. And then take that original stroke width, multiply it by 100, and then divide it by the scale. And oh my God, no matter what size it is, it's going to look like it's 121. Let's just say we go back to scale of 100. And if I turn this expression on or off, you can see it appears the same. But let's leave it on. And yeah, again, look, we're scaling it up and down and there's no problems. Okay, if you're interested in the math of what's going on here, just a quick explanation. Here it is. So I started off with a scale that was, or a stroke width that was 121. And then without applying this expression, what happens is when you scale it up, it gets multiplied by a scale factor, which is the scale of the layer. And since the scale is measured in percentage points, really this is kind of like scale divided by 100, right? So like by default, the scale is 100. And so what our stroke width ends up being is 121 times 100 over 100, which is just 1. So it's just 121, right? But if our scale gets bigger, let's say the scale turns into 200, 200 over 100 is 2. So now our stroke is double the size. So really, we just want to counteract this term. So all I've done in here is just included a 100 in the numerator and included a scale term in the denominator. I guess we'll just kind of becomes this, which, if you're familiar with math at all, these guys all cancel out and it just becomes 121 all the time. Smooth sailing. So yeah. All right, so here's an addendum. Let's say you've got this picture of a kid. Now, this child does not exist. I got it from that website. This person does not exist. And he's a fascinating virtual person. You know? How old is he? I don't know. He clearly is a kid, but he also looks like an adult. Anyway, that's besides the point. Real quick, here's just an alternative to everything I've said before. We can do a layer style stroke, and it'll throw a stroke on him. This is just an alternative way of applying a stroke instead of doing what we did before. And so this stroke gets applied on top of the layer, no matter how we scale it up. So we can do the scale, and the stroke is there, and it's the same width the whole time. So yeah, that's just another way around this. What an awesome kid, huh? If you liked this video, well, it's the first video on my channel, so help me out by doing all of the subscribe and like, and hell, even hit the notify me button, because I'll be doing more of these. And if you hated the video, if it sucked, tell me, please. I would like to get better. Don't include any personal insults or anything like that. That's just unnecessary. Prefer constructive criticism. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this helped. Goodbye.